beliefs versus intentions. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. Jesus Christ emphasized repeatedly the spirit, not the letter of the law. In chapter 5 of the Gospel of St. Matthew, he speaks of the sin of killing and of the legal punishment attendant on that sin, but says that more important than the act is the desire to kill or to do harm. He shows that the sin of harmful desire goes beyond merely wanting to kill. My message to you, he said, is this: whoever is angry with his brother without cause already stands condemned. Whoever contemptuously calls his brother a fool shall answer for it to the Supreme Council, and whoever calls his brother an outcast of God shall be in danger of hellfire. Brother here means any other human being, for all of us in the highest sense are brothers and sisters, children of our one Father, Mother, God. The true self of one is the self of all. To hurt another is, even if one doesn't realize it, to hurt oneself. Swami Kriyananda in the Path recalls an episode in which Master Paramhansa Yogananda revealed his sense of identity even with the plants. One day Kriyananda wrote, we were moving a delicate but rather heavy tropical plant into position on the hillside. Our handling evidently was too rough, for Master cried out, be careful, what you are doing, can't you feel it's alive? To wish death to anyone, to wish even harm to another creature, is to deny in oneself the reality of that divine life of which all of us are manifestations. It is, in short, to deny the eternal truth proclaimed by the Bhagavad Gita in the 2nd chapter. This self is never born, nor does it perish. Once existing, it cannot ever cease to be. It is birthless, eternal, changeless, ever itself. It is not slain when the body is slain. Thus, through the Bhagavad Gita, God has spoken to mankind.
Okay, good morning everyone, welcome. It's a real joy to be here with all of you. I'll tell you a deep thing actually before we get started on the topic, that in that chant I was playing, I kind of fumbled there a little bit in the middle of it. And the reason why is that there's so much devotion in this room that it was really easy for me to go into a high state of consciousness while playing that chant. But I'd never played that chant in that state of consciousness before, and my mind just wasn't, it kind of didn't know how to do it in that state of consciousness. But it comes from all of the devotion in this room, all of the concentration, all of the joy. So in a weird way, even with that mistake, what I'm saying is that I'm very happy to be here in all of your presence, that it's a real joy to be here. So this morning's topic is deeds versus intentions. Another way of looking at that is, it is said that God, that He watches our heart, that He knows when we make mistakes. And this world, it's actually designed that even when we try to do good, somehow bad things seem to happen anyways. And God knows that He made this world like that. But what He really watches is our heart. And if we can learn to purify our heart and only be trying to do good to others, then we can live a very happy life, no matter if it goes wrong on the outside or not. So in this particular reading, Swamiji talked a lot about the desire to kill versus what we have to do outwardly. And I want to talk in that line of thinking about two stories that are in the autobiography of a yogi. And these concern Master and mosquitoes. And the first story is when Master was being bitten by mosquitoes from head to foot and that he couldn't sleep. And so Sri Yukteswar realized that he wasn't able to sleep. And so he told Master to buy a mosquito net, curtain, and he said also buy me one too, because otherwise then they will just concentrate on me after you have the mosquito net. But before he told him to buy a mosquito net, he told him to lose the mosquito consciousness. And Sri Yukteswar, that he could sleep even when there was many, many mosquitoes. And Master wrote in the autobiography of a yogi that he could do that either by one, withdrawing his consciousness so deeply that he couldn't feel his material body, and if they were biting him, it just didn't matter to him, that he couldn't feel it anyways, that he had withdrawn his consciousness. Or that, now this I just find absolutely amazing, that Sri Yukteswar could control the minds of the mosquitoes and with his willpower will them not to bite him. Both of these are very high ways of being, but they are our potential, and one day we will achieve those things. You know, we might just get deep into mosquitoes today. That there's a Brahmachari Devendra. I've known him for many, many years. We've traveled all over the country teaching, and very often we'd be sleeping in one room together. And I would just get bitten from head to foot all night. And we would wake up in the morning and he'd wake up so peacefully, and I'd ask, how did you sleep? Wonderfully. And he'd say, how about you? And well, you know, didn't you have any mosquito problems? No. And I've known this guy for so many years. We meditate together like before the sun comes up, right when it's dark still. That's when the mosquitoes just really come after me. And at the end of the mosquitoes, at the end of the meditation, I'll say, but how was your meditation? Fine, peaceful. That he just doesn't have that consciousness at all. And yet there's two ways that this magnet can work. It could be that we really love mosquitoes. Now I don't know anybody who has that. Or it could be that we really are afraid of mosquitoes, and that fear will drive them towards us. But Sri Yukteswar told Master to lose the mosquito consciousness. And we can do that. I had one other brother monk. We were in Chennai, which has a lot of mosquitoes. And again, I was being eaten from, head to foot. And in the morning, we woke up, and he had one mosquito on him. I probably had 30 bites that night. He had just this one. But he said something. He said, oh, poor guy. And he just gently got him off. He said, he's been overfeeding. He can't fly. And he just gently, and that was such the opposite of my consciousness. I would have thought, great, I can get him, that he can't get away. But he thought, oh, he's been overfeeding. And I thought, that's exactly why he only got one bite in the evening, and that I had 30. So our consciousness is very important. And I also this morning, as we talk about this, I want to emphasize, this is just a way that Master put it, Swamiji put it, thoughts are things. That in the beginning, as our consciousness starts getting uplifted, it just doesn't seem to matter what we think. It seems okay, it's just my thoughts. But as time goes on, as we grow spiritually, we begin to realize that our thoughts have a grand power. And even if no one knows what's going on in our mind with those mosquitoes, that it's very important that we learn how to control our mind. Last night I was studying for a class that I have to give later on this afternoon on cleanliness and contentment. And as I was studying that, Swamiji was talking about the fact that we have to really discipline ourselves in meditation to not let stray thoughts come in, to not just let our mind wander hither, thither, that we really must learn to control our mind and not let our mind wander. And no one else is going to do that for you. And in time, there's another saying, I've been told this is from Master, I hope that it is, but even if it's not, it's very true. A disciplined mind is a happy mind. And meditate on that. Learn to discipline your mind. You will see that you have a happy mind. So that was one story of the mosquito curtains with Master and Sri Yukteswar. The other one was that Master had a mosquito on his leg, and he lifted his hand, and then he thought, oh, Patanjali, ahimsa. No, no, no. And then Sri Yukteswar knew everything that was going on, and he said, why don't you finish the job? That you've already struck the death blow in your mind. And Master asked, but Sri Yukteswar, what about ahimsa? And Sri Yukteswar, and this is exactly in the reading we just had this morning, Sri Yukteswar said, Patanjali was referring to the desire to kill. And in this world, sometimes we do need to kill mosquitoes. We do need to kill other, whatever, insects or this and that. And at the end of the reading that Shubha did, that there's a reading from the Gita that the self is never born, it can never die, it can't perish. And I'll talk about that more in the end. But so the thing is that it's not so much whether we kill the mosquito or not. It's, do we want to kill the mosquito? And maybe you haven't had this, but I've certainly had that consciousness where oh, you got me and now I'm going to get you and I'm going to kill you and then you're never going to hurt me again and I'll be able to sleep peacefully or I'll be able to meditate peacefully. My roommate, he just bought one of these rackets that you use to kill the mosquitoes. And I've certainly had one of those, and I feel sometimes I just kill the mosquito and it's fine. It just needs to be done. But other times, oh, that guy got me. I'm going to get him. And there's another one. And there's another one. And this feeling gets going inside. And when that feeling gets going, that's when I put the racket down. And only you know of what's going on inside. That is that desire to kill that creature. Is that what's going on inside? And we definitely don't want that. We want inside a real feeling of oneness, a real feeling of peace. I met a saint that he kind of had this mental agreement with the mosquitoes, and he honored it from his side and they honored it from their side. He would say, you can land on me, but don't bite me. And somehow he never got bitten, ever. He would let them, they would cover him if need be, but he would never get bitten. And of course, he would never kill them. I guess that was the agreement. But he also had enough power and this feeling of oneness with all of creation that they honored their side, he honored his side. So the most important thing here, and it's a subtle thing, I'm making light of it this morning, but really you do need to go into your heart and really see what feelings are there on a deep, deep, subtle level. Make adjustments, clean yourself from the inside with Kriya Yoga, by visiting saints and having their uplifting presence transform you. There's many different ways, by chanting, but watch your heart's feelings, watch your mind, and learn to purify yourself and then live in that purified state. Now, going on in this reading, that Swamiji took something from the Christian Bible, and it was a chapter 5 from Matthew, the book of Matthew. And there was 3 things where Jesus was talking again about not the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law. And it was in how we relate and how we treat. In that reading it said brother, but it really means all mankind. And the first part of that reading was talking about if we get angry at our brother, if we get angry at anyone, that really the person who is being condemned is ourselves. Do you know the story when Master was on a train, and this was in America, probably in the 20s or maybe 30s, and he was dressed in his orange robes and a turban, and there was some fundamental Christian on the train who kept staring at him and just like, you're a heathen, you're a terrible person, you're dressed like this, you have the wrong religion. And so eventually Master got a conversation going with him, and the man started saying, do you believe that Jesus Christ is the only Savior? And Master said, I believe that Jesus was one Savior, but I believe that many others have come. And then this man, in a very yelling and angry way, told Paramhansa Yogananda, if you don't believe that Christ is the only way, you're going to go to hell and burn there forever. And Master, in a very calm voice, said, well, my friend, I may get to hell by and by, but you, my friend, are there already. And the whole train started laughing and taking Master's side, because the man was so angry that he already was in hell. And so we don't have to worry about what happens when we die. We need to worry about right now. And if we are in a state of anger, and especially if we're feeling that other person did this to me, and that's why I'm angry, that we are the ones who suffer. We don't really have to worry too much about punishing other people. If we have children, we have to correct them in whatever way is right for them, and I don't want to go into that topic. But really, it's not our job to be big boss karma. That karma takes care of everybody and everything and all of their sins. That we should help people if they will take our advice on what is right and wrong. But really the one person that we have to transform is ourselves. And we have to learn what is right and what is wrong. And I said this last time, so I won't say it again, but Swamiji, he got angry maybe once in this incarnation, that it's possible to live without ever getting angry. I didn't say this. Swami Kriyananda's parents, he never knew them to have an argument even once, ever. He never saw his parents ever have an argument. And they weren't, his father didn't even believe in God. His mother deeply believed in God. But it's not like, you know, they were leaders of some spiritual organization or something. They were husband and wife with children. but they never got angry. And so we can get to a place like that too. So then the next thing that Christ talks about here, and this is a very interesting thing, is if there's a person and he's saying, oh, this guy, he's such a fool, and trying to tell everybody else that he's such a fool. And I want to talk about that deeply, because on one level, this world, it's just a reflection of ourselves. And if we really think, oh, that guy is just a fool, we're really, I like to say that if there's one finger pointing, that there's three more pointing right back at us. And that this is all just a reflection, but it goes deeper than that. Imagine there's a classroom with a few students, and let's say there is one student in there who really is actually a fool, just really not intelligent at all. That the other students may have different reactions to that. Perhaps one student tries to help the young boy and tries to help him learn a little bit. Perhaps another one just stays completely neutral, just doesn't think about the situation at all. And then perhaps there's another boy who very much is teasing that person and saying that he's such a fool, why is he like that? Now, all of these different boys in the classroom, what it comes down to is what's going on the inside of them. And so if we see someone who's a fool, maybe we're not outwardly teasing, but even inwardly, if we make that mental criticism of, that guy's so stupid, then we are in our ego, and it makes us think, because I'm so smart. But you see, and now this is so important, of how can this all be a reflection? Maybe we are intelligent. So how could that person who's there looking like such a fool, how could he actually be our reflection? And the thing is, actually, we are everything. And when we just take a self-definition that I'm so smart, that's ego that's coming in, and it's bound to crash, that we're bound to meet someone who is more intelligent than us. But if we just think that I am what I am, and that sometimes relative to this guy I'm a fool, relative to this guy I'm intelligent, but we don't let any of those self-definitions define who we really are. Because as soon as one side comes in, the opposite, you've already formed it. And so how can it be a reflection that we are everything? We are good, we are bad. We are intelligent, we are foolish. But yoga teaches us how to be right on the inside, right in that middle place. To be balanced and to not be judging that. Also, it's important that we watch our reactions. That if we really think, I'm so happy that I'm not a fool. Or if we're really, like the third boy who was really criticizing, that if there's those strong emotions and reactions going on to the person who's foolish, that we're going to have to pay the price for our reactions going up and down like that. I think it was 2 days ago, I was with another monk, and we were doing or trying to just set up a webinar, and his webcam wasn't working. And I just slightly kind of teased him, like, what are you thinking here to try to set up a webinar and your webcam's not working? And then I said, let's use my laptop. Webcam not working on my laptop. And then I went, I so deserve this. By the way, if you realize that that happens, hi, welcome. If you do something wrong, even in a little gentle way like that, and then it comes right back to you, it means that you have good karma. That it's the thwarting cross currents of ego that God says, I can't just bombard this guy with all the bad things that he's done all day long, that I'll need to put some of these bad things off for a while so that his life goes somewhat smoothly. But if you see them coming right back, it's a good sign. It means that there's less ego in you, that there's less karma, and that you have an awareness actually of how karma works. So this particular monk, he got scared actually. He said, it can't be that exacting. Because I didn't like really make fun of him or say anything really harsh or critical. It was just this gentle little, oh, what were you thinking? And he got a little scared. It can't be. If it's that exact, I'll never get out. He was thinking of all the different things that have been going on, and it is that exact. But we don't get out by trying to put it all together just perfectly. We get out by withdrawing our energy and turning the dream off and seeing that it was a dream and going within and realizing that perfection has always been there on the inside, no matter what we've done on the outside. And then from the state of Jivan Mukta, we can, in one lifetime, burn all the karma of one incarnation. So we have to strive to become a Jivan Mukta. We have to strive to go on the inside. Anyways, if you see negative things in this world, negative people, don't get the reaction, I would never do that. You're already in trouble. Say, oh, and pray for that person. There's someone who said, there but for the grace of God go I. And there's two ways to interpret that. One is that you've already gone through those negative things and that God has given you good karma in this incarnation and you're grateful for it, that you don't have to experience that. But the other way of interpreting that statement, there but for the grace of God go I, is that it's an interesting thing, that God has given you a sense of ego right now because you're not ready to handle the state of oneness and see yourself even in all the negative things in the world, because they all have to balance out. It's an interesting way of thinking about that statement, and that even this ego is something that is given by the grace of God until we're ready to handle really the liberating shock of omnipresence and see that we are in all good things and in all bad things. The third statement that was in that reading that Christ talked about, he said that if a man calls his brother an outcast of God, that he is damned to hellfire, or that it's a big sin, basically. And that really would be a really big sin for us to tell anybody that God doesn't love them, that they're not part of God's chosen family or anything like that, because God is in each one of us, and to take anyone away from God is definitely a sin. I told a friend last evening at a satsang this story of Swamiji's. So Swami, in a past incarnation, lived in the ashram of Kapil Muni. And in that ashram, Swamiji chanted for 20 years, that he left his duties at some point in his life. He went to that ashram, chanted for 20 years, had deep experiences. I don't know how deep he went in that incarnation. But that's why in this incarnation, Swamiji had a very good voice. So at the end of those 20 years, he had left his wife, he'd left his duties and come to that ashram. At the end of that 20 years, his wife came to him and said, I too want to find God. Please let me live here with you. Teach me what you've learned. And Swamiji said, get away, you're Maya. That I've renounced all of this and that I'm just going to find God. And she went home rejected. Swamiji had many heart problems in this incarnation. He said it was due to the sin of keeping someone away from God. That when his wife wanted to come and find God, that if anyone comes to you and wants to find God, it's your duty to help them. And if you don't help them, it's a sin. And so he said the multiple heart operations that he had in this incarnation, he had all different kinds of heart problems. It was due to that, of pushing his wife away like that. So if anyone comes to you and wants to know what you know about God, you have a duty. Don't think, oh, I don't know. You do know as much as you know at this given point. Share that. And also, even just to tell someone that they're not ready for this or that, they might not be ready for some aspect of the spiritual path, fine. But in their heart of hearts, that everyone is seeking God realization. That no matter what they're doing, looking for joy in this way or that way, God is joy itself. And so they're seeking God, even if it's misguided. It's our job to help them find better guidance. Swamiji then wrapped that reading up, or started to wrap it up, by talking about Master saying, can't you feel the plant? It's alive. And we need also to be able to get our consciousness that sensitive to be able to feel what's going on with plants. I have several plants on my balcony, and each one is like a little child to me. That before I came on this trip, I said, I'm not going to give you water on Sunday morning because I'll be here, but I'll be back and you'll get your water on Sunday evening. And I know exactly which one that he likes this amount of water, or this one. He's a heavy drinker. He likes lots of water, and they're all different. They like different amounts of food. But we have to be able to tune into plants. Once I had a basil plant that I just began to love so much that I couldn't cut it anymore to use it. I would use it in pastas and Italian cooking, and I began to love them so much I couldn't do it. And then I was reading somewhere that Master, in some talk, that he said, oh, sometimes I get so sensitive that I can't cut the plants either. And it made me feel so good, but it also made me know that in this world of duality, and that we have to have a thick skin and a soft heart, and we have to know when to use each aspect of ourself when. That sometimes it's time to cut the plant and eat it. God made it like that. Let's not get too sensitive. But other times it is time to go inside and feel situations, other people's realities, our own realities, higher realities, very sensitively. So learn how to do both, and then you can learn to maneuver in this world and not get stuck in this world. And then the final thing I want to speak about is the Gita reading that Swamiji put in this, and it's that the self is never born, it can never die, it can't be slain. And I was wondering, why did Swamiji put this in? How does that tie in together with the desire not to kill, the spirit of the law, intentions versus deeds? And one thing is that in the very practical sense, that we will have to kill animals, kill insects, that every time we take a breath, every time we brush our teeth in the morning, millions of bacteria, they're dying. That this world actually, that if there's life over here, there's going to be death over here. It's just the way that it's made. And so if we have to kill a mosquito, the thing is, that mosquito, it never actually dies. And if we kill it with the right consciousness, it's probably evolving to a next higher life form. So even on the battlefield, when Krishna is telling Arjuna that it's your duty to kill these people, and that they don't actually die, but that he has to perform that action. But the highest thing of all of this is that we have to perform this action with the right consciousness. And so sometimes we're going to have to do things in this world that it hurts a little bit, it doesn't feel right, but we shouldn't hesitate from that action. That when we really know that this is what God wants, that we should get in and we should just do it. And we grow like this, that life is not easy, it's difficult. There's many situations where no matter what you do, somebody's going to get hurt, something's going to go wrong, and you have to choose the lesser of two evils. But there's a saying that even if all the gods are displeased, but your guru is pleased, then you're safe. So learn how to, talking about being so sensitive to plants, it's a step on then being conscious of what your guru really wants for you. That Swami Kriyananda, he never gave me these, now go do X, Y, Z, and send me all these emails and make everything so like this, like this, like this. It was just an inner attunement, and he just didn't give directions outwardly like that. I just had to know what was going on. Even once I asked him a very specific question, and he just wrote back, I see that you have this problem. And he never answered the question. He made me figure it out for myself. And ultimately, all the answers are within ourselves. So this is just my last plea. Meditate. Do more Kriya. Kriya plus devotion, spiritual mathematics. This morning, that my days now, they're all so calculated. What am I going to do every 5 minutes? The reason why isn't because I'm that type of person of let's make a schedule, and I'm not that type of person at all. The reason why is, how can I squeeze 5 more minutes in and do a few more kriyas? How can I feel that bliss so much that this morning when I woke up, the alarm went off, and I thought, okay, just a few more minutes. And I did take just a few more minutes. But then in meditation, I looked at the clock and I thought, oh, could there just be a few more minutes to sit in this inner joy, this inner peace? And that desire to have those few more minutes of meditation was way stronger than what it feels like when we first wake up and want to sleep a little bit more. That this joy that will come is just unbelievable. So please stick with it. Please meditate every day. Do the techniques. And I promise you, it doesn't happen just, 3 days from now you learn Kriya and then you go into all kinds of inner ecstasy. It will take time. But if you stick with it, if you stick to your vow, if you've taken Kriya Yoga, if you stick to that vow and practice your Kriya morning and night, that inwardly you will have changes that are just absolutely unbelievable. And then you won't need anything else. That everything, the whole universe will be within you. All the answers will be within you. You will know how to go within and ask God and commune with God and talk with God. And you will know how to hear His answer. And you will know how to feel that peace under all circumstances and give that peace to everyone. So please carry on, doing, done, marching forward until one day we too will achieve oneness with God. It's been a real joy. Thank you.